What's up, you guys? Rasati out here in Singapore. It is the Night of Podcast. Welcome back, you guys. I really appreciate you joining in. And as always, I have something major I want to talk about today. So lately, of course, I've been hearing a lot of complaints, a lot of worry and breakdown in communication, a lot of accusations, a lot of mistrust, a lot of difficulty. About what? Oh, infidelity. So I was reflecting over the kinds of conversations I've been having with my clients, things I've been seeing in media, posts that I'm seeing. I mean, Twitter is relentless. Honestly, I've seen a lot of really difficult conversations and comments. So what I want to talk to you about is the fact that infidelity is not the reason that relationships break down. Oftentimes, it is the inability to forgive an infidelity. So when someone steps out on you, yes, they fucked up, they screwed up, they stepped out. They should not have stepped out. They should have said something. I get it. But what ends up happening is once that's over and done with, and once you've decided, yeah, you know what, okay, it happened, I want to move forward, I want to build this anyway, I don't want to start over with anyone else, you're the one for me, we're going to work on this. But then the burden of actually pushing through this lies in the victim's hands. The person who is cheated on is the one who has to do the heavy lifting this time. And that kind of sucks. It doesn't make sense, but honestly, that's where it starts. So obviously you've been caught, you've been found out, you may be cheated on your spouse or your girlfriend or whatever. And they've decided, you know what, nope, I'm going to try anyway. This hurts, it sucks, I can't believe you did this, but I don't want to let go of this. There's too much potential here. So then the person has to deal with the fact that they have to go back through every conversation that they ever had with you, everything you ever told them. I was here, I'm going here, I'm going to do this. Who are you on your phone with? Who are you talking to? Who's on social media? Who's following you? Who's in your DMs? Like all of that becomes very loud in the person who was cheated on's head. It becomes very difficult to distinguish between what's real and what isn't. They're going to second guess everything you do, and suddenly you're going to be accused of doing things because of the infidelity. So then it becomes a strain in the relationship. While they're trying, they're struggling, they're doing their best. Trust me, they're doing their best. But they have to reconcile every thought. They have to trust you when you're not in front of them. They have to trust you when you are in front of them, but not focused on them. When you're on your computer, when you're on your phone, when you're on social media, scrolling through or doing whatever. When you leave the house, whether it's for groceries or for picking up your kids or just going to work even, they second guess everything. And it sucks. And it's not the fact that they don't want to forgive. It's suddenly that all of this lies in their hands. Yes, you have to bend over backwards and prove to yourself that you can be trusted again. But in the same token, you have to be able to answer questions, sometimes over and over again. Sometimes you'll be able to get through a whole year and you feel like you're getting better, and suddenly something will trigger you. Maybe it's the anniversary of the date you found out. I don't know. Something will trigger the person who was cheated on, and the questions will resume. The fear will start up again. You will go back through those torturous memories and those difficult thoughts about, okay, where is he? What is he doing? Where is she? What is she doing? Who is she talking to? Who's calling? Who's this friend she keeps mentioning all of a sudden? And it will begin over and over again. And the unfortunate part is, sometimes you're reluctant to have a third party come in to try and hear you both out and help you understand each other again. Learning to speak the same language as somebody else is difficult. Think about it this way. When you have a conversation with emojis, if you've never met the person before, one emoji can have many different meanings, right? And if you don't ask about what it is that they're trying to tell you or what they mean by something, and oftentimes we won't because we don't want to look stupid, we assume and then get the message wrong. So if you think of it in those terms, you have to learn all over again how to speak the language that the other person is already speaking. And at the same time, teach them how to speak your language. And this a lot of times is why in the first place there is even room for an infidelity. Honestly, in my opinion, infidelity starts with the thought itself. Just like a relationship starts in the thought itself. Once you no longer see someone as a friend, you see them as a potential love interest, the relationship has changed. For you, in your world. Same thing with cheating. Once you start looking outside of your significant other for ways and means to entertain yourself, make yourself feel better, discuss problems that you're having that you really should be discussing with your spouse. Once you start even having those ideas or thoughts, you're already cheating. Why? Because there is a reason you don't want to go to that person. You need to discover that for yourself. Whatever that point is, whatever that reason is, you need to discover that for yourself. And then you need to understand why you don't feel comfortable going to that person. And if there really is something major, you need to be able to speak to that person and tell them, hey, this isn't working. Why? How can we get it to be better? How can we make sure that we speak the same language? This is part of the reason I take all of my clients through a process of self-awareness. You have to know what your love languages are. How do you like to show love? How do you like to receive love? And when do you feel important? What makes you feel important? Do you need to feel important in a relationship? Or do you just need the connection? Do you need to feel like you're really connected to somebody? Or do you need to know where they are constantly? Is it the way you were raised, and so you're expecting the other person to be ready to share all the details and the pieces of their schedule so that you know exactly where and when to expect them? It's a safety thing for you. You need to know. Or is it something where you need to know that there is going to be variety in your life? That it's not going to be the same old humdrum relationship in life. You don't go to work and come home and eat, and go to work and come home and eat. It's not going to be like that. You're going to have some adventure in your life. You need to understand those things about yourself. And once you do, you need to understand the same categories and how they fit into your significant other's life. Once you understand those things, you have a really great basis for a friendship. Because if you can't be best friends about everything, how are you supposed to have a relationship? How are you supposed to introduce sex into that situation and then still be able to speak the same language? It's really, really difficult. So for that reason alone, I think it's really important that you learn how to speak to each other. So that when you do have crises, when you do have money problems that you're afraid to talk to each other about, or when you have situations where you don't feel so great because your work is not going the way you wanted it to, and you don't feel comfortable talking to your wife, or maybe you don't feel heard and loved and appreciated in the house, and you don't feel comfortable talking to your husband about it, all these things matter. All of these things matter, because the minute you don't feel comfortable coming to your best friend, your significant other, there's room for infidelity. So I want you guys to think about that. In any relationship, it doesn't have to be a love relationship either. When it comes to your parents, how many times have your parents said, don't go outside the family and tell people these things? I want you to discuss it with me. And honestly, yeah, the only way to solve a problem is to confront the person you're having a trouble with. Confront the person you're not actually getting along with, the person you're having problems with, communication issues with. Because guess what? If you don't get the information straight from the horse's mouth, chances are you're getting an assumption, a guesstimation, an estimate of what the actual problem is. And when you assume, you have more room for error. You're not meant to fill in the blanks by yourself. You're meant to have somebody else fill in the blanks for you, especially if it involves them. So if my daughter and I have a problem and she doesn't understand what I mean by something I said, she's not going to get quiet about it. She's going to come ask me. Because the sooner she asks me, the sooner I can answer her, and she doesn't have to worry about anything unnecessarily then. There's no room for misunderstanding. There's no room for unnecessary arguments or uncomfortable silences or uncomfortable discussions or any of that stuff. There's no need for confrontation at all. Just ask me, hey, what did you mean by that? Hey, what is that supposed to mean? Did you mean this? Because this is the way I heard it. Those are the easiest ways to fix broken down communications. Been in a situation where you've had an infidelity and you're trying really hard to get through it, it's not always easy. And both parties have to be ready to talk about some things they never talked about. Maybe talk some things to death. It's okay, it's normal. But there's also a process to that as well. It's not meant to last forever. You're not meant to become slave to the other person. You're meant to learn to trust each other again. You're meant to learn to tell each other what you need and what you don't like, and how you would prefer things if there is a better way to do things. So unfortunately, in cases of infidelity, it is not always the infidelity that actually breaks things apart. Now, if you're strong enough to say, you know what, nope, you cheated, that was a one-time deal, and I'm not going through this, I'm not going to give you the opportunity to screw with me again, fine. You've decided to walk away, and that's perfectly fine. But for the most part, someone who's been cheated on, in that relationship, both of you have decided, no. I don't want to break this off, I want this to work, I want to find a way. But the finding of the way, that's the hard part. One person has to forgive. Actually, technically speaking, both people have to forgive. The person who was cheating on has to forgive the infidelity and learn to trust again. The person who did the cheating has to learn to tell the other person what they were missing in the first place and what they went in search of, and then ask for forgiveness because maybe they didn't communicate that well enough, and maybe they didn't understand what it took to explain those things. And the person who was cheated on has to understand they did not fulfill a need somewhere, and they need to be ready to ask for forgiveness for that as well. That's how you move forward. It takes two hands to clap, and it may be hard to hear, and you may hate me for saying this, but this is how a relationship works. Both people have to be committed. Both people have to do the work, and it's not always easy. Because when you tell somebody you don't like something, you run the risk of them judging you, first of all, or being upset and offended, or being so triggered by whatever it is that you said that they may just walk away without even an explanation. But what connection is safe? I think you heard the episode that I talked about. Real connections aren't safe. They're not meant to be. You're supposed to put yourself out there. You're supposed to open up in order to be really, really loved. It's easy to love the easy parts of you, the fun parts of you, the easygoing, people-pleasing, I'm always happy parts of you. But who in real life is always happy? Who in real life has no trouble with anything? Who in real life is perfect in every aspect of their lives, as in they're good with money, they're good at sports, they're good in, their body image, they're good with the way they dress, they're good with the way they eat. Yeah, they're just perfect. No one. Honey, no one. So if nothing else, after listening to tonight's podcast, I want you to think. Think about the relationships you have in your life. Think about the ones where you cringe a little bit when they call you because maybe you're not exactly in a great place with them, and think about why you're not in a great place with them. How do you fix that? How do you make it so that they know what they can and can't do, or what hurts or helps you? And they're happy to accommodate somehow because they want the relationship to work. Think about that. So if you have any questions or comments, or hate mail, drop them in the comments below. I'm ready. But if you really want to work on this, if you want a specific conversation about your own situation, your unique point in life, how to figure out some things, do drop me a line. Let's talk. Let's schedule some time, because this is what I'm here to do. I'm here to help you see from a different angle so you can actually get what you want and not hurt people in the process. All right, you guys, I love you, and I'll catch you again soon. Bye.